What's going on, everybody? Welcome to another episode of the Husband Podcast. I'm your host, Terry Duran. I got my partner, J Bob, in the building. What's going on, bro?
Nothing much, man. Looking forward to chopping up, getting to another great episode. See, got SD missing this week, but we hope to have him back next week here. But I want to quickly remind you, you can catch us on TikTok as well. Subscribe to us on YouTube at Hold Us Podcast. And for those interested in promos or shout-outs, shoot us a DM on IG at Hold Us Podcast, as well as email us at hoetohusbandpodcast@gmail.com. All right, T.
I want to remind everybody, y'all can catch the audio playback of the podcast every Monday afternoon at 4 p.m. Central Standard Time on the core94.com. I also want to give a shout out to my man, Brother Soul Productions, for keeping us lights with our background music. And I want to remind y'all that y'all can continue to support the podcast through our Cash App and our PayPal. We appreciate anything you can give to offer. Tonight's episode is titled Life Ain't Fair. And we're just going to be having a conversation about unfairness and inequality in regards to dating in relationships. But y'all know how we do around here, man. We like to start each episode off by discussing stuff that we've seen trending or on our timelines. So we got a couple interesting videos this week. This first video is a guy, kind of controversial type, but he was talking about why he doesn't date his type of women. Let's take a look.
Like, I'm not gonna say I date ugly women because I don't, but like, I stay away from my type because my type has me spending money that I don't have, skipping work that I need to be doing, mentally going through all the fucking loops, and I don't want to go through no more circuses. I don't want to chase nobody. I only want what wants me. So I'm not going after my type, and my type is the traditional bad bitch. And I think that's everybody's type. But the bad bitch has a worse personality. That's all I'm saying. So I like women that like me as much as I like them, as well as have personality to go with looks, have smarts to go with looks. Like, my type, all you got to do is be light skin, curly hair, and a nice body and a pretty face, and boom, here's my wallet. Here it all. Oh, you need your nails done? Don't worry, I got it. And nigga, I don't got it. I really don't got it. So that shit is like detrimental to my life. So I stay away from them.
Now, it's a lot to unpack with this. He hit on a couple key things. For starters, I think that the type that he's describing are what most guys find sexually attractive. The baddies, the woman with the BBL shapes and the nice bodies or whatnot, that lack a lot of the nurturing aspect or the characteristics that are conducive to long-term relationships. But to me, I ultimately just think that he's talking about guys that are learning to be less responsive to their sexual desires or just their physical attraction to a chick. Because I think most guys, especially young guys, are overwhelmingly driven by how good a woman looks. Where I think he messed up is making the way he worded it. It made it seem like only you, in order to be attractive, you have to be light skinned with curly hair. And that's definitely not, the only criteria for a woman to be really attractive, or what most guys would consider their type.
Yeah, I think he hit a lot of great points on this. It's a little bit all over the place, but he did hit, I think multiple things are true. Like I said, where I disagree is like, oh, well, to get this, a quote unquote bad chick, so to say. And I think baddie is somewhat relative here. You have to do X, Y, and Z. You're spending money that you don't have. You have to miss work. Because at the end of the day, like I always say, if a woman likes you, you don't have to. She values the time that she actually spends with you as opposed to what you're spending on her. If this baddie wants you to spend all this money on her and do X, Y, and Z for her and not reciprocate anything, then she's not really interested and she doesn't really like you.
Yeah, so that's one of the lessons that guys learn early on, is dating essentially is about spending time with a person of interest. Y'all could just be chilling, y'all could just be laughing, y'all could be watching a movie. Like, there are a lot of things that bond people to the point where they end up in a relationship, where they end up deciding to get in a relationship. Um, you know, I speak about it all the time, like having a girl that you find sexually attractive. Well, obviously, that's the first step before a guy ever shoots a shot at a girl. So guys that routinely shoot their shot at girls they like, that's already gonna be a given. Um, but there is uh, this generation of women is drastically different than the past generations, obviously, in the materialistic mindset and the finesse or the ways that they take advantage of dudes like this that are suckers for attractive women and pussy. You know what I mean? Like, because if you a dude that actually got success with women, you're not just gonna meet a certain type of chick and just be like, okay, here's my money, or okay, you can have whatever you want from me, because that's a kind of a weak guy's approach to dating. Like,
It is.
you know what I'm saying? Like, come on, man. That reflects a lot more about your weaknesses as a man, per se, and not necessarily a specific type of woman.
But I think like if you're doing, like, for example, he said, you're missing work, and if you're doing stuff like that, it's kind of it speaks to a lack of focus, right? Because a woman shouldn't be able, you should be able to prioritize. Okay, work first, or maybe you have other things that you need to do, take care of, maybe pay your bills, things like that. Those should come first. You should prioritize that first, and then after that, deal with the woman or whatever you want to do. A woman shouldn't be able to knock you off your, like people say purpose. A lot of women should not be able to knock you off your purpose here.
Yeah, and me personally, man, I've always thought it was lame for dudes to overexert themselves trying to impress a chick. You know what I'm saying? Like being able to be transparent, like telling a woman no because you don't have the money is an acceptable response to a woman asking you for something. Because I remember, man, it was one time this dude, I ain't gonna say no names, but this was in my army days. So we would routinely, as a clique, on Sundays we'd pull up to this park and I'll park our cars diagonal and holler at chicks and whatnot. So this one time we had all hollered at like a group of college chicks or whatever. And so everybody chose they chick or one, or they only couple with whatever. And so this dude had hollered at one, and he asked me for $10 so that he could buy some milk and deliver it to one of the chicks that he met. You know what I'm saying? And so I didn't know that's what he was asking me for the $10
right.
for. You know what I'm saying? But when I found out, like, I lost so much respect over that. Like, bro, you borrow money to go to not only buy something for a chick you just met and you ain't even smashed yet, like, and then you deliver it across town to their campus. You know what I'm saying? Like, so it's stuff like that make me like, come on, bro. That's a flag on the play for sure. And that just let me know how lame or how much some guys are willing to do just to try to impress a chick. So that was,
look, when it comes as long as there's sex involved, there's a lot of dudes that there's no limit as to what they would do in order to get sex more. I mean, dudes will literally kill somebody over some coots here.
Yeah, I know dudes make some extreme choices over women.
Yeah.
It's unnecessary, man. If you can get to the point where a woman's having one-on-one conversations with you, that's all you really need to be able to, if you're actually who you claiming to be, that's all it actually takes to be able to have the conversations that make her interested in you as a person and more interested in having future conversations with you. So don't be asking the lame questions. Don't be, you know what I'm saying? Like, just, it's a bunch of stuff that guys can eliminate that will prevent them from having to take this route.
You know what? There's another thing with the so-called bad chick he was describing, right? I think what happens is when a lot of times when dudes come across these kind of women, I guess they get, I don't know, maybe nervous. So they start switching it up and they trying to do X, Y, they trying to do too much, doing the same thing you would do to get the other chick you got, right? They start switching
It's
up.
normal. It's normal. It's normal to have that nervousness. It's funny. I was just kind of having this with my daughter.
Okay.
Well, some boys at her school, one of these dudes is telling people that she like him. You know what I'm saying? So she just found out and she's making a real big deal out of it. So I'm trying to explain to her, like, look, he's getting cool points with his friends because you're a cheerleader. And you're interacting with them.
Right.
So what the dude is doing before he says something to my daughter, he'll like turn to his friends and make a facial expression like, "Look, I'm about to talk to the cheerleader," and then he'll interact with her. So to them, he's making it seem like, "See, I'm telling y'all, she's feeling me or whatever." But that's normal, man. You supposed to be nervous around your crush. You supposed. I mean, you can't help but don't have those feelings. You know, I talk about it all the time as a married man. When I come across a woman, if I'm really attracted to her, I can't help but notice. You know what I'm saying? Like, in response, I can control how I react. You know what I'm saying? I'm not gonna be damn shorty. I'm not gonna say the things that I would be saying if I was single. But how I see and I'm gonna look at I gotta see the ass at least 2 or 3 times. You know, so I'm gonna do that type of stuff just off GP. You know what I'm saying? But those are the things, the lessons you have to learn as a boy to prepare you when you actually an adult to be around attractive women. Because we all see the dudes that be doing the most to try to impress chicks, and ultimately it just makes you look lame, or it shows everybody that you don't really know how to attract attractive women.
And the women, and the thing is, a lot of times the women know when you're trying to do too much. They already sense that. They can already smell that from a mile away.
Yep, they can, and you just end up being a sucker to get taken advantage of, like the guy in the video. Let's keep things rolling, man. This next video is a lady that was talking about the women that use the "they're no good men" rhetoric to describe their lack of dating success. Let's take a look.
Women know that good men exist. They just don't want to admit it when they can't attract one, so they make that excuse. They got a grandpa, an uncle, a brother, a daddy, a cousin, a nephew, a male friend that they know and see is on the right path. They can't possibly believe those are the only ones.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of truth to what she's saying. I also think I think women can see guys that are going to be on the path to have a successful career. I don't think women actually know how to recognize husband and father material. Because a lot of the things that attract women or women use to make their dating decisions don't have anything to do with whether a guy would be able to provide a stable environment or would be a good husband and father long term. And in a lot of cases, even though those women may have family members and all that, they may not qualify those men as good men because they may know things about them that they dislike or that they wouldn't do, or etc. So I think when it comes to women evaluating men, we've shown time and time again there are a lot of inaccurate things that they use and a lot of unfair ways that they evaluate men overall to disqualify them from being good men.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, she hit some great points here, and she's right. I mean, there's plenty of good men out here, but like I said, a lot of times women don't recognize what's good husband to or good father who can actually go out there and raise a family here. Because a lot of times, and women will disqualify like the littlest thing to disqualify a man, right? And I guess I don't knock it, I don't begrudge one for doing it, just because, especially in this day and age, right? She's got DMs, text messages, good morning, beautiful, her to death, what you're doing to death, right? So I get that you got to find ways to disqualify them and find the one that's right for you. But I think a lot of times it'd be for some of the most, trivial reasons that they're disqualifying a man for, and then saying, well, there's no good man. Now, some figure it out later on, some get in their 30s and figure it out.
When it's too late.
Back in their 20s. Yeah, when it's too late, sometimes they're looking back in their 20s and they're like, damn, what was I thinking? This one could have been the one for me. And it's like, damn, now I'm struggling out here in the dating world.
Yeah, because a lot of those women that, and this is another part of the conversation I was having with my daughter. I was like, man, I don't want you to just eliminate all the guys for silly reasons, because some of these guys, they in ninth grade. They gonna look
Yeah.
lame. They gonna look weak. But I was like, but 5 years from now, when he's a sophomore at U of H, or you know what I'm saying, like when he's on his path to success, he's gonna look very differently. His swag is gonna be very different, and you don't want to just, you know what I'm saying, like treat him like he wasn't nothing, because he's not his final product. And I'm trying to get her to understand, like, you are only child with two college educated parents, you a cheerleader, like you in the upper echelon, you're the class president, you know what I'm saying, like you in the upper
Yeah.
echelon of the high school social hierarchy. And so, yeah, these boys are gonna act goofy and do certain type of things
Right.
to associate with you. Um, Duh, that's, I'm trying to get her to. I'm like,
Right.
why you think all the TV shows got everybody got a crush on the cheerleader, and everybody, she's at the parties, and the quarterback like this. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's kind of the goal for everybody, to be in that kind of the upper clique. You know what I mean? To be at the parties and be with the in crowd. Um, but you got
A
to
lot
work
of
your
times.
way up.
Yeah. And that's the thing that a lot of times, when women initially, they're not looking at, the trajectory of where he can go, right? Let's just say, and especially out of college, right? Like 9 times out of 10, you're working an entry level job making, $40,000. But does that job have upward mobility that he's working at, right? Even if you work for like the city or the state, you start out there, let's just say you're a police officer. You're starting out, you're not making a lot of money your first year or two, but you have the potential to make six figures in most places, especially if you're a police officer in a major metropolitan area.
Yeah, and just to get back to what she's talking about in the video, but when women are talking about those things, that there are none of those type of men out there, they're talking about the men that they like, because the men that they're not
Right.
interested in are essentially invisible to them. Like, and
Yeah.
and a lot of times it's because of a lack of knowledge. Like SD, mentions all the time. Women overlook him because he has a blue collar job. He's an electrician and plumbers, and man, these dudes making $400,000. You know what I'm saying? But
Yeah.
women will overlook them if they saw him at the gas station with his construction truck and his vest on and all those type of
Yeah.
things. So a lot of women, the things that they use to eliminate men or to prevent them from dating situations, is, I guess you could say, bad information, or bad strategies, I would say,
I
because
think it's a combination of both. Yeah.
I guess it's fair to say that, you know what I mean? Because when you're talking about, the grandfathers and the men back in the day, like the biggest role for a husband is to provide for the family. And so that means a stable lifestyle where everybody can flourish and do their thing within our budget, or whatever that is. You know what I mean? And I don't think that a lot of women pay attention to those characteristics in a guy. For example, they'll curve a guy that canceled a date because of an obligation or something like that. Like, say for example, you told your homeboy you was gonna help him move and you forgot about it,
Yeah.
but he texts you
Right.
Saturday morning like, "Hey man, I'm gonna go pick up the mover truck." Like, a real stand-up dude will cancel something. "Hey babe, I forgot I told Tony I was gonna help him move. We should be finished around 3. I'll be back." There are dudes that will leave their homeboy hanging because they want to
Yep.
chill and be up under their girl. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
Like,
Yeah,
and
that
and
happens.
and I think men and women will look at that two completely ways. There'll be women that'll block them and cut them off over that, instead of saying, "Well, damn, he's turning down some probably sex or something fun to do something in service of somebody, one of his
Yeah.
people that
And-
he gave his word to."
Exactly, and folks know moving is not fun. Hey, moving is anything but fun. You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying?
yeah, it get worse as you get older, man. It get worse.
Yeah.
The after effects of moving, man. I'd be sore as hell. Feel like I wouldn't play
Yep.
football again.
But even with that, let's say, okay, hey, I'd go help my boy moving out from, hey, can we schedule this for another, and offering another day? Hey, can we do this tomorrow? Or, hey, all right, you're not off, you're off next week. Hey, let's do this next week. There shouldn't be a problem. But like I said, a lot of times women will disqualify a man and block him for that reason.
Without even getting a chance to explain, or, like, those are the type of things that it may not be a big deal to a woman to think about those type of things, but cutting off men for silly reasons or things that it wasn't disrespectful. I talk about how that's the most overused word in the female vocabulary. Like, a lot of the things that men do that are just normal male thinking and behavior are not disrespectful. They're not ill intent. There's not some malicious motivation behind him thinking and not operating how you would have. And so a lot of those things are what women use to either make a guy undateable or to feel like he's not on a level. And ultimately, they're making it more difficult for them to ever find anybody that does qualify. And when they do start dating those guys, a lot of those women think and operate in ways that ultimately push them away. All right, man. Looks like we are up against the clock. So we're about to take a quick break. When we come back, we're going to be getting into tonight's topic, Life Ain't Fair, where we're having a conversation about how unfairness impacts dating and relationships. You are tuned in to the Ho to Husband podcast. We'll be back in a moment.
Hi, I'm relationship coach and author Terry Duran, and I am pleased to announce that my book, It's Not That Complicated, is finally available as an audiobook. So if you don't like to read, or you just don't have time to read a paperback book, this audiobook is perfect for you. You can listen to it while you're in your car, while you're at work, etc. In the book, I break down how husband material men think and operate in regards to sex, love, and relationships, and I provide real quality insight on how husband material men approach dating. The audiobook is available on audible.com and on iTunes. All you have to do is go to one of the websites and search for my name, Terry Duran. Go download your copy today.
All right, everybody, welcome back to the Ho to Husband podcast. Tonight's episode is titled Life Ain't Fair. And we're just going to be having a conversation about how unfairness and inequality impacts dating and relationships. Now, we hear these phrases on social media, all this, that's just not fair. That's not fair. And I think that's largely comes from women when something doesn't go their way or they don't get the dating outcome that they want. But I wanted to just have an in-depth conversation about it. So when we talk about dating and courting and all those things, the fundamental premise of those things are chivalry. How men show interest in a woman and show preferential treatment towards them, opening doors, providing gifts, doing all the type of things that make a woman feel special. That's a version of inequality. That is something that women get from men just because they're women. They don't have to earn it. They don't have to do anything special to garner it. It's essentially just men giving preferential treatment to women for being women. And I never hear women complaining about that. Women, in fact, I hear women complaining about the lack of chivalry. What are your thoughts?
You know what? So when it comes to fairness of women, I don't think women really care about fairness unless fairness seeks to serve them, right? Think about this.
Sure.
Society 9 times out of 10 gives women deference and preferential treatment in a lot of ways, right? Think about the ways the laws are constructed here, right? Does the same laws apply to women? Think about, I'll give an example. Think about domestic violence, right? Or domestic abuse. Right? A woman calls the police on a man for domestic violence, domestic abuse, right? What's going to happen? He's going to jail. Cops come, he's getting arrested, he's going to jail, he's going to get a charge, have to show up to court, right? Now it's the other way around. You call the police, is she going to get sued? She may or may not.
She could, but very
50-50. Yeah. But that's
unlikely
50-50 at best. Yeah. So women don't complain in that aspect. Even, the way the marriage laws, child support laws are written here, right? Is that fair? No. But you don't. I mean, yeah, the men complain about it, but the women don't care because it favors them.
Yeah, you're right. I definitely don't see that women complain about the things that benefit them, and I don't really see men complain about things like child support and child visitation and all that, but we know ultimately there ain't much we can do about it. The
Right.
things that we can control is limiting who we get sexually involved with, using protection, things of that nature. But even that can't protect you from potentially having to be in a custody battle situation with a woman, because even if you felt she was wife material and you married her and you had children the right way, she could still divorce you, and you'd
Yeah.
have be dealing with the same consequences of a guy with his baby mama. So essentially, there is no way to ever really prevent that, because I have partners that are still dealing with those things. It just, the more successful you are, the more it costs you, and the more of a target you are, essentially. But in the dating world, I guess the reason why guys don't really spend a lot of time complaining about, oh, this is just unfair. Why does she like the handsome guy? Why does she, what I'm saying? Like,
Right.
bro, that,
I
that
mean,
time you spending crying and whining over how unfair it is, you could be working on yourself. You could be doing something to put yourself in a position to have more success. And so guys
I
know that the fastest way to do that though is getting a bag. And so that's what guys focus on.
absolutely. I think the ones that do play are the ones that aren't getting played from or getting the results they want out of women, right? Those are the ones that's really complaining that, hey, it's not fair.
What they
Why
red?
do
What's it
women
called?
like
Red
this?
pill. The ones that hate
Yeah.
women and never want to date women and all that.
The manosphere, I think that. Yeah,
Yeah.
that crowd where they just complain about the women. Oh, why do they want this guy instead of me? I even had to tell a friend, listen, as opposed to complaining, just like you said, as opposed to complaining about why this isn't fair, why do women do this and that, why not put that same time and energy into working on yourself to get the results that you want here?
Yeah, like having a level of self-reflection, what I'm saying, self-awareness to realize why are they choosing those type of guys. There are certain situations you can see they're choosing him because he's paying them. And there are some dudes that want to get wealthy or get good jobs so that they can be that dude. I was never that dude. What I'm saying? I ain't never pay, what I'm saying? Like, to me, that the whole prostitution mentality conflicts with my DNA in regards to being able to talk a woman into sleeping with me. Like, I'm a firm believer in, I don't have to pay for a woman to be able to find women that are attractive to
You
me
know what?
or willing to have sex with me.
If you have to do that, like for me, here's how I view it with prostitutes, right? If you have to pay a woman to have sex with you, I feel like you're just throwing in the towel saying, hey, I'm a loser. I have no game.
That's
so
not, but
I'm going to pay a
a
woman.
lot of guys don't look at it like that. The guys that have, make millions and all that, they got their own philosophy about why
Right.
they do it and how they spend their money, and that's cool. But my point is, as a man, there are going to be unfair disadvantages that you have. Like, you could be in high school and you could be with a regular family, and another dude could have parents that sell dope. And so he can dress flyer than you, he can have more, he can
Right.
buy cheap stuff. Like, so there are always going to be unfair disadvantages that you have when it comes to your personal situation, whether that's sports, whether that's education, whether that's the workplace. And I think men are more focused on just adapting and dealing with the unfairness or the perceived unfairness than simply just complaining about it. Because we see that a lot when we're talking about dating in general. Is men will report what they observe and explain why they're moving the way that they're moving. But for the most part, shit, it is what it is. If you got a BBL, yeah, you cute, I'll smash. But I would, so like,
It wouldn't like you.
Real and just telling you what it is. Like, yeah, we like her pics, we follow her, we do this, but we know what that really means. Like, but I wouldn't be looking at her like, oh, it's so unfair. Why are you smashing a rapper behind my back? You know what I'm saying? Like, come on, man. Guys have to focus on reality.
We do. I mean, at the end of the day, listen, we have no choice but to focus on it. Like, because the way society's set up, society's going to hold us accountable whether we want it to or not. We don't really have a choice. Like I said, if you're not, then you're just being delusional. And at the end of the day, we just have to realize, the world in general, it's just not fair. Life isn't fair.
Yeah, being a guy, you can look at, how easy dating is for women and how unfair that is for us. The fact that women don't have to work to get sex. Women don't have to shoot their shot at men. Women, you know what I'm saying? Like, there are a lot of things where you can look like, damn, they got it easy.
And you know what? For me, listen, I just accept that for what it is. Right, wrong, or indifferent here. That's just what it's going to be. So we just got to accept the realities of any government scenario is vital to having success here in anything here.
Yeah, just the way I look at it, I guess I've been with my wife so long, I've had insight into the female experience that I don't think a lot of guys even really think about. But
Really?
one of the things that guys never talk about is having to fear for our safety and things of that nature. Like, yeah, we got to be cautious on where we move and all that, but just not to the level of a woman. Like, I don't think about getting gas because it's nighttime and just being around me and by myself and being alone. Like, I'm never having those thoughts on basic things that a woman would have to think about in relation to being safe among out here with men. So there are unfairnesses in the world that you just have to accept. Like, there ain't nothing you can do about it. So there really ain't no fool. We just got to deal with it. You know what I'm saying?
No question about it.
And that's one of them. I can do my best to make sure I'm not part of the problem. You know what I'm saying? Like, or I can assist if in certain situations, but there ain't nothing that nobody can protect everybody. You know what I'm saying? Like, so that's not something that any man can ever fully, take the burden of. That's an impossible task, whether you're single or not.
Right. I mean, at the end of the day, as a man, you walk out the door, there's anything that can happen here, right? You can't predict anything. Like I said, the only thing you can do is control, just observe the situation and know what you're getting into. That's the only thing you can really do.
Yeah, I agree. I wanted to kind of share another thing that I guess from the male perspective, one of the biggest discrepancies or unfair things that men can bring up would be beauty enhancement. Men don't have, there are things out there that can make a man more attractive, but in general, the average guy can't really afford to do the things that enhance male appearance. So most guys have to rely on haircuts and grooming in general. That's and obviously, working out, physical activity and things of that nature. But for the most part, men have a limited bucket of options on things that they can do to make themselves more desirable to the opposite sex. Compared to women, they can literally, kind of redo themselves from top to bottom. And at the very minimum, get sex and the time and attention from the men that are on the top of their desire list.
Absolutely. I mean, women can pretty much almost alter their whole body, right? Think about this. They can get breast implants. They can get BBL to make their butts look bigger, shapely and all that stuff. I mean, they can even do stuff with their face, from Botox, lip fillers, all that stuff there, makeup, hair, wigs. So you can do all
lashes
these things to alter, to give you a whole different look and whole different appearance here, right? From what you previously looked like. As a man, you can't really do that. Men don't go around putting on makeup here, right? Men can't really, I guess men can't really alter their bodies like that. I mean, I guess the only thing I can think of really is what the gastric sleeve surgery if you're overweight. That's the only really thing I can think of. But like you said, you have to rely on, going to get a fresh haircut every couple of weeks. cologne, the way you dress, how you carry yourself. That's really what you have to rely on as a man. Even if you don't look like, even women like taller men, right? Studies have been shown, right? So if you're unfortunate with the genetic lottery, let's just say you're 5'8", now you really got to put in the work, like you said, and do all those things.
Yeah, you gotta make up for your shortcomings in some type of way,
Yeah.
whether that's being funny, whether that's being able to have conversations. But guys have been accepting or dealing with that reality since middle school. Like the boys we just talking about with my daughter, since ninth grade, they've had to try to find a way to get the cute chicks to engage with them or interact with them or talk to them or even know who the hell they are. You know what I'm saying? Like this boy is, getting status with his friends because she knows who he is and interacts with him. Like, so those type of things are the things that build a guy's self-esteem. And as he becomes a teenager and gets older, being able to be the guy that the cute chick chooses to give her number to and chooses to go on dates with, those are the type of things that build that confidence going forward. And not only the confidence, it's the repetition and the practice that he gets from having a conversation with a chick that he has a crush on or he's nervous around, or you know what I'm saying? Like those are real things.
It is, and like I said, I think you're speaking on back at kind of more so like the era like we kind of came up in, which is predate social media here, where you kind of really just learn through trial and error. You're talking to chicks, you're learning, you're kind of learning on the fly. You're learning what works and what doesn't work, right? I think we've all can say, hey, we've had some hits and misses in that direction. Whereas internet now, people are taking things from the internet and now social media, where things have kind of become an echo chamber here. So I think, when you're speaking of that, I think that's the difference there.
Yeah, I agree. It's just one of those things. Whenever you talk about unfairness, that's gonna come up.
Yep.
Another one that I hear frequently is it's unfair that men get to control marriage or control access to relationships. But you never see women complaining about them having access to sex for the most part. So it's those are kind of things that men have to deal with and just face the reality of.
But you know what? Even with that, right? Women almost have an unlimited number of sex options, right? Even men do control access to relationships, right? But there's still some limitations on that, because at the end of the day, the woman has to like you in order to get a committed relationship with her, right?
Yeah, it's well in both situations. There are ingredients required from both, but
no question.
But for guys, sexual, it's such a small. All he got to do is be attracted to you and have the opportunity to smash. So though that threshold is so small from the average guy, that if you're somebody, I mean, you don't even have to be somebody he really finds attractive. We know guys will take one for the team. We know guys will smash a chick just because they got drunk and they got horny and she was there. Like, guys have been in a lot of situations like that. And we know that guys don't view sex as that big of a thing. So it is very, very largely based on the mind state at that particular time. Because the way that a man is thinking when he's horny, he'd be disgusted by those thoughts when he's not. You know what I'm saying? Like, so the literal mindset and the how your brain works under those conditions is drastically different. And it kind of ties back to what we're talking about, like being like noticing your breathing is different when the girl you like said something to you or touched you or came around you. Like I can vividly remember scenarios from my childhood where crushes were involved, and like my wife was one of my first crushes in college. So you can remember where you saw them and where you met them and your like first interactions, because those are, I guess, what they call them, a core memory for guys. Interacting with a crush reaches that threshold for most guys.
Yeah. You said your wife was your first college crush, right? Did you have like a certain strategy of how you gonna approach her, how you gonna talk to her, or how you gonna get her to notice you?
Well, I had learned lessons about shooting my shot from high school. So by the time I got to college, I had already went to the army. So I was already on top of my game as far as confidence and shooting my shot or whatnot. So I shot my shot at her the first time I saw her. You know what I'm saying? Like, I was always I was always the walk up to the chicks and break the ice type. So that wasn't a thing.
Gotcha.
I just, I shot my shot and we exchanged numbers when we first met, but we didn't end up actually linking up and starting to go somewhere with it until later on.
Was
So
was it was it
I
the
made sure she knew who I was that first time.
Gotcha.
What?
Was it y'all cell photos, or was it the dorm room numbers that y'all exchanged?
Dorm room. When we first met,
Okay.
she gave me her dorm room number. Yeah, I still remember her dorm room number.
Yeah, now that's funny because they don't have that no more. Yeah, like back in the day, back 90s and even like better part of 2000s, they had dorm room phone numbers. As I remember back in
Yeah, you have
2000,
to
they would give you their dorm room phone.
call
Yeah, they would.
dorm roommate. She not
Yeah,
here right now. You know what I'm saying?
yeah,
All
I
that
don't
stuff.
think they have that anymore now with cell phones.
Yeah, I would imagine, I guess the whole logistics of linking up is going to be drastically different, with social media and smartphones. I don't know how it would go, on campus these days because the girls that we idolize and really wanted to be with, well, now they bottle girls and, you know what I'm saying? Like, and
Ah
chicks
man,
that took their refund check and got a BBL, you know what I'm saying? Like, and stuff like
yeah.
that. So,
Dr.
so
Miami.
yeah, so I can't even imagine the dating landscape on the college campuses now. I mean, I would imagine
Yeah.
hooking up or having sex is a lot easier, but finding somebody that you gonna consider date material is gonna
It's
be a lot
it's
harder.
you know what? I think it's definitely drastically changing because some of them they probably already follow each other on social media, so they're probably already shooting them a DM. Whereas back in the day, every college has a spot where everybody links up at a certain time. Some colleges have like common hour on top of the hill or something, and everybody meet there, and that's where you try to shoot your shot, or a certain nights on
Well, see,
Friday night or something.
back in the day, it was dating success. You had to be outside. You had to be in
Yeah,
the vicinity to be able to have the conversation and even get the number in the first place. So that forced a lot of us to be outside even when we didn't feel like it. You still had to get dressed. You still had to go out with your home, even though you was broken. You know what I'm saying? Like you didn't really have the money or you didn't really want to be there. Because ultimately, for real, I've never really liked going out, but that was always the
okay.
best opportunity to meet chicks. So that was always it's game time. You know what I'm saying? Like, oh, it's a party. Oh, I gotta show up. I gotta get my fit right. I gotta make sure my shoes and like so. I didn't like the activity itself. I like the opportunity for new chicks. You know what I'm saying? Like so, that was always I didn't know. I thought, a lot of the stuff that I thought back in the day, I thought everybody was thinking the same stuff.
No,
It's not.
they don't. And it's, bro. Honestly, for you, man, I think you was ahead of your time, man, for real. Like, because a lot of folks don't think like that. Mind you, this is back in the 90s and 2000s. I think it was just ahead of its time, and a lot of folks weren't thinking about that, and folks still ain't even thinking like that way now.
I guess, man. I don't know, man. To me, I just had to get up. I always focused on creating a one-on-one conversation, and to me,
Right.
being able to do it by being well groomed, making sure I look good and I smell good. Plus, I looked up a little bit as far as like you said, the bio. I'm 6 feet tall, got natural curly hair.
Right.
Like I don't have nothing that instantly disqualifies me from most chicks. So I just, played the hand I was dealt for the most part. I'm doing things that increase my success rate and not doing things that talk me out of the panties.
Man,
And I did a lot of this just by learning. Oh,
man,
I'm not gonna be like
bro.
him. I'm not gonna do that.
I got an idea, man. You might have to start doing, reels on these kind of things. Maybe do like master classes and stuff, man. And there's a lot of free game on here, man. I think the fellas could use this stuff, man, for real. Even that you've been married for 20 years here. Yeah, this stuff is still relevant to this day here. But switching gears right now, society is set up to provide advantages to women and children. And I think we kind of touched on this earlier here, of how society, sets up a lot of hands for women and children, and not the men. And the men aren't complaining. Well, some men do complain, but we're not sitting there wilding and saying, "Damn, this isn't fair here."
Yeah, I mean, we understand that those things are necessary. It's only a problem when they get taken advantage of, when they get weaponized, when the phone calls and the abuse. You know what I'm saying? Like, the women that take advantage of the system and knowing that they're going to get the benefit of the doubt, and knowing the public reaction. You know what I'm saying? Like, a lot of women know just the accusation of rape or a rape charge. A lot of men will spend money to settle and do things to prevent just the word of that getting out. So there are a lot of lawyers and a lot of women that are very vindictive and malicious with how they use those things that are meant for protection.
But you know what? A lot of women the majority of women understand this, especially, like, for example, once you get married, they know once you get married, once you say "I do" and you have that marriage certificate, that's a legal document that binds you two together. They know they have the state on their side, or if they have a child by then, they understand that the state is on their side. If she goes and, after you've been married, once you have assets and you have children and everything, they know they can file for divorce, and the state likely, sides with them as, they get custody of the children. He's probably owing child support, maybe even spousal support in many cases here. So they understand that. And even like you just said, a situation where, a rape or sexual assault case, they make that call, make that just the accusation, whether he did it or not. They know, okay, well,
it's hard to clear, hard to come back from.
It is. You got to get a good lawyer, which is going to cost you, some money here, especially, that's why a lot of, former judges and DAs go into criminal law, because there's so much money in that.
Yeah, and that unfairness about the system, like I said, men just have to adapt. And so what we're seeing is less men are opting into marriage. Less men are proposing, less men are willing to accept that risk. Now, you have got, as Debra mentions all the time about the prenups, but just having a prenup discussion with a group of women is most likely going to lead into a negative, create a negative vibe and a negative conversation.
Yeah, it's considered, that kind of conversation is still at this point considered to be taboo to a certain degree, because, when you mention prenup, women get up in arms. Well, what are you saying? Are you saying we're going to get divorced? I
saw a video the other day of it was a woman's wealth, and she was talking to her boyfriend, to her fiance, about why she needed him to sign the prenup, and he wasn't reacting. He was like, "Oh, no problem." You know what I'm saying? Like, I didn't even think about that. But women can always understand it when it's the woman's wealth that's being protected. You know what I mean?
Right.
But when we talk about those things with you're already planning to get divorced and you're already going into it with the negativeness.
Hey,
come on.
It's funny. So here's a good analogy, right? When you go get car insurance, if you live in an apartment, you get renter's insurance, or you live in a house, you get homeowner's insurance, right? Do you think about, well, I'm getting home, if I get auto insurance, right? Oh, you're thinking about getting into an accident? No, nobody thinks that, right? If you get rent insurance, you don't think about your apartment catching on fire or somebody breaking into your apartment and stealing your valuables or anything like that. You're not thinking about it. You just get it. You do it on a subconscious level because you need it's a necessary thing.
Protection.
Right? You're protecting your assets here at the end of the day. You're protecting your car, you're protecting your house or your apartment here. And nobody thinks of it in that way. But when it comes to, getting married, it's like, oh, well, you're planning to get divorced. And it's like, no, you're protecting your assets, and you're protecting your best interests here, because as we
just in case
before, a marriage is fair. Because listen, at the end of the day, there's only two ways your marriage is going to end. It's the two Ds: death or divorce. It's one or the other.
Yeah, I guess I never thought about it like that, but I guess you're right. Uh, all right, man. Looks like we are up against the clock, so we about to be getting up out of here. Before we go, I want to give another shout out to my man, Brother Soul Productions, for keeping us nice with our background music. I want to remind y'all to continue supporting the podcast through our Cash App and our PayPal. Jay, man, I appreciate you linking up so we can get this episode knocked out. Look forward to getting SD back. This has been another episode of the Hold a Husband podcast, y'all. Thanks for tuning in. Peace.